What would you do if your child found a bag buried in the desert? $380,000, unregistered diamonds, no witnesses. They were ready to turn it in until someone knocked on their RV door at 2:17 a.m. That night changed everything. This is the story of a family who thought they found treasure, but actually found leverage and the smartest decision of their lives. They weren't running from anything. At least that's what Emma told herself when they pulled the RV off the highway and onto the cracked desert road. This trip was supposed to be simple. No laptops, no Zoom calls, no school schedules, no deadlines. Just 5 days in the open desert of northern Arizona. Red earth, endless sky, silence wide enough to breathe again. Mark had insisted on it. "We need this," he'd said, after another late night of unpaid invoices and tense conversations about money, "before we forget what normal feels like." Emma agreed. The RV wasn't new. It rattled slightly when the wind picked up. The fridge hummed too loudly at night, but it felt like freedom. Leo loved it immediately. He treated it like a spaceship. Their 6-year-old daughter, Mia, called it the rolling house. They parked near an abandoned service road, far enough from civilization to feel alone, but not so far that it felt reckless. Or so they thought. That first afternoon was easy. Mark set up the grill, Emma unfolded camping chairs, Leo chased lizards with a plastic bucket. Mia collected rocks and declared them treasures. The air smelled like hot dust and sagebrush. For the first time in months, Emma felt her shoulders drop. Then Leo shouted, "Dad, Mom, I found something!" Emma smiled automatically. "Is it another legendary desert crystal?" "No, it's a real thing!" There was something different in his voice, excited but sharp. Mark wiped his hands on a towel and walked toward him. Emma followed more slowly. Leo was kneeling beside a half-buried black duffel bag. Not old, not torn, not sun-bleached. It looked recent. "Don't touch it," Mark said instinctively, but Leo had already brushed sand off the zipper. It was heavy. That was the first thing Mark noticed when he lifted it. Too heavy for clothes, too compact for camping gear. Emma felt something cold settle in her stomach. "Open it," Leo whispered. "No," Emma said quickly. Mark hesitated, then he unzipped it halfway, and everything changed. Cash. Stacks and stacks of cash, bound in tight paper bands. Not messy, not scattered, organized. Beneath the cash were small velvet boxes. Mark stared at Emma. Emma slowly reached down and opened one. Inside was a diamond necklace. Not delicate, not small, the kind you see in secure glass cases with guards nearby. "Close it," Emma whispered. Mark zipped the bag shut immediately. The desert suddenly felt too quiet, too exposed. "Is it treasure?" Leo asked. Mia tugged at Emma's shirt. "Is it bad treasure?" Emma didn't answer. Mark scanned the horizon. Nothing. No cars, no footprints besides theirs. No tire tracks nearby except their own. "How much do you think is in there?" Mark asked quietly. Emma shot him a look. That's not the question, but she was thinking it too. They carried the bag back to the RV. Leo skipped beside them, thrilled. Emma felt like they were carrying something alive. Inside, they locked the door. Mark placed the bag on the small kitchen table. For a moment, nobody spoke. Finally, Emma said what adults are supposed to say. "We take it to the police." Mark nodded. Yes. It felt automatic, correct, moral. They even rehearsed it. "We found this near mile marker 42. We didn't touch anything, we just wanted to turn it in." Emma imagined the relief of handing it over. Done, finished, clean. But when Mark opened the bag again to just check, something shifted. The money was tightly wrapped in bank bands, $10,000 per stack. There were at least 30 stacks visible, and that's just the top layer. Underneath, more. Emma's breath caught. This is life-changing," Mark whispered. Emma swallowed. "It's not ours," but her voice sounded thinner now. Mark lifted one of the velvet boxes again. Inside was a diamond bracelet so clear it looked like frozen water. No branding, no serial numbers visible, just brilliance. "Who leaves this?" Mark asked. "No one leaves this," which meant only one thing. It was lost, or dumped, or hidden, and that meant someone might come back. They zipped it closed again. The RV suddenly felt too small, too fragile. "We go first thing in the morning," Emma said firmly. Mark nodded. "Yes, first thing." They slid the bag under the built-in bench storage compartment. Out of sight, out of mind. At dinner, Leo couldn't stop talking about the pirate treasure. Mia asked if they were rich now. Emma laughed too loudly. "No, sweetie." But that night, when everyone else was asleep, Emma lay awake staring at the ceiling. She thought about their mortgage, Mark's unstable contracts, her student loans, college funds they barely started, the medical bill from last winter still unpaid. She pictured paying it all off, breathing, choosing work because they wanted to, not because they had to. At 1:43 a.m., she finally drifted into shallow sleep. At 2:17 a.m., headlights flooded the inside of the RV, and everything shifted again. At 2:21 a.m., the desert stopped feeling empty. Headlights sliced through the thin curtains of the RV like interrogation lamps. Emma's eyes opened instantly. For a second, she didn't remember where she was. Then she did. The bag, the money, the diamonds. The light didn't move. It didn't pass by. It stayed. Mark was already sitting up. "You see that?" he whispered. "Yes." The engine outside idled low and steady. Not loud, not aggressive, just waiting. Emma's heartbeat climbed into her throat. They hadn't told anyone. No posts, no calls, no signal even. So how? The engine shut off. Silence flooded the desert. Then came the sound, gravel crunching under slow footsteps. Mark moved carefully toward the front window and shifted the curtain barely an inch. A dark pickup truck, no plates visible from this angle. The driver's door open, one man standing outside, another shape still inside the truck, watching. The man outside wasn't rushing. He wasn't searching wildly. He walked a slow circle around the RV, measured. Emma felt something icy spread under her skin. "They know," she whispered. Mark didn't answer. The footsteps stopped near the rear storage compartment, exactly where the bag would be if it were still outside. The man stood there for a long moment, not knocking, not speaking, just standing, listening. Emma's mind raced. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe they were just campers. Maybe... The man lifted his phone and shined a flashlight beam slowly across the ground, tracing, looking for something that wasn't there anymore. Mark stepped back from the window. "We should call the police," Emma whispered. No signal. As if summoned by the word, Leo stirred in the bunk above. "Mom?" he murmured sleepily. Emma moved instantly to him. "It's okay. Go back to sleep." The footsteps approached the side of the RV. Emma could hear her own pulse in her ears. Then 3 slow knocks. Not aggressive, not frantic, just deliberate. Mark froze. Another knock. Then a voice. Calm, low. "Evening. You folks see anything unusual out here tonight?" Emma and Mark locked eyes. The question hung heavy. Mark didn't respond. The voice came again, slightly louder. "We're looking for something that fell off our truck." Fell off. Emma almost laughed at the absurdity. Something that weighed at least 40 pounds just fell off? Silence from inside the RV. The man waited. 10 seconds, 20. Then his tone changed slightly. "Important property. Would hate for anyone to misunderstand." Emma felt her stomach twist. This wasn't random. This wasn't casual. This was a warning wrapped as politeness. Mark finally spoke through the door, voice steady but firm.
Didn't see anything, just got here this afternoon. A pause, then another long silence. The flashlight beam slid slowly across the RV's surface, lingering, evaluating. Emma imagined him calculating. Children inside, one vehicle, remote location, risk versus reward. Finally, the flashlight shut off. Footsteps retreated, truck doors closed, the engine started again, the headlights remained on for a moment, as if considering. Then the truck pulled away into the darkness. Emma exhaled for what felt like the first time in minutes. But the relief didn't come. Instead, something else arrived. Clarity. "They're not calling the police," Mark said quietly. Emma looked at him. He wasn't panicked. He was thinking. If that was legal property, they would have reported it immediately. There would be sirens, search teams. Emma's mind replayed the voice. Important property, would hate for anyone to misunderstand. That wasn't law enforcement. That was someone who doesn't want paperwork. Emma's heart was still racing. That doesn't make this better. No, Emma agreed. It makes it quieter. He walked to the bench and pulled the bag out again, set it on the table again. The zipper sounded louder this time, more final. He lifted one stack of cash. "Do you know what this means?" he asked. Emma didn't answer. "It means whoever lost this can't officially admit it existed." She stared at him. "And if they can't admit it existed, they can't report it stolen." The logic slid into place like a key in a lock. Slow, dangerous, tempting. Emma sat down heavily. "They came back," she said softly. "Yes, and they didn't break in." "No, they didn't threaten us." "No, they just checked and left." Emma realized something. If these men truly believed the bag was inside the RV, they would have taken it. Instead, they tested, observed, and left. Maybe they weren't sure. Maybe they lost it earlier. Maybe they hoped it was still out there. Mark leaned back. "They're not going to file a police report for unregistered diamonds." Emma stared at the table. The idea that had felt criminal hours ago now felt complicated. Not clean, but not simple either. What if we turn it in and whoever owns it finds out where it surfaced? Emma felt the weight of that possibility. Court records, evidence logs, names attached, public filings. People who lose illegal assets tend to watch for ripples. Emma imagined the truck coming back, not knocking next time. The desert suddenly felt less like freedom, more like exposure. "What are you saying?" Emma asked quietly. Mark didn't answer immediately. He looked at the children sleeping, then back at the bag. "I'm saying maybe turning it in isn't the safest option." The words hung between them. A few hours ago, the police station felt like safety. Now it felt like spotlight and attention felt dangerous. Outside, the desert wind returned, soft, indifferent. Emma felt the first real fracture inside herself. Not greed, not yet, just fear mixed with possibility. If we keep it, they might come back. If we turn it in, we guarantee our names are tied to it. Silence. Long. Heavy. The kind that changes things. Emma looked at the bag again. Not as evidence, not as treasure, but as leverage. And maybe, just maybe, opportunity. By dawn, neither of them had slept, and the plan they'd agreed upon felt far less certain than it had the night before.
By morning, the desert looked harmless again. Golden light, calm air, endless sky. It almost felt ridiculous that the night had happened at all. But the tire marks were still there, fresh, real. Mark made coffee in silence. Emma watched the children eat cereal like nothing in the world had shifted. Leo asked, "Are we going to the police now?" The word landed heavily. Police. The original plan. Emma looked at Mark. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled out his phone again. Still no signal. He stepped outside, walked 50 yards down the road, held it up to the sky. Nothing. He came back inside slowly. "They were testing us," he said. Emma knew exactly who he meant. They didn't search, they didn't demand, they just checked. Emma crossed her arms. "Or they'll come back with more people." Mark shook his head. "If they were sure we had it, they would have taken it last night. We were completely exposed." The logic was cold, clinical, and persuasive. Emma sat down across from him. "What if they were seeing how we'd react?" she asked. "Then we reacted perfectly," Mark replied. "We said we didn't see anything." The word "we" settled between them. They were already aligned, already complicit. Emma felt it. A line had been crossed the moment they chose silence, not when they kept the bag, when they lied. Leo interrupted them. "So are we rich or not?" Emma forced a smile again. "We're just thinking." After breakfast, they drove toward town. The police station appeared exactly as Emma had imagined it. Small brick building, American flag outside, 2 patrol cars parked in front. Safe, official, predictable. Mark slowed. The RV idled near the curb. Emma stared at the entrance doors. This was the moment. One turn of the wheel, one honest conversation, and everything would reset. Mark's fingers tightened on the steering wheel. Neither spoke. The silence stretched. 10 seconds, 20. Emma's heart pounded so loudly she thought Mark could hear it. Then he did something small, barely noticeable. He pressed the gas. The RV rolled forward, past the station, through the intersection, and didn't stop. Emma didn't protest. That was the moment, the real one, the irreversible one. They didn't say, "We're keeping it." They didn't need to. They had just chosen. They drove another 20 miles before pulling into a gas station. Emma finally spoke. "We can't just sit on it." Mark nodded. "No." "So what's the plan?" He had already been thinking. "We don't deposit cash, not big amounts. We use it slowly, quietly." "And the jewelry?" He hesitated. "We don't sell locally." Emma studied him. "When did you start thinking like this?" He looked at her honestly. "Last night, when they knocked." There was no excitement in his voice, no thrill, just calculation. Survival mixed with opportunity. They rented a storage unit 2 counties away, paid in cash, no contracts tied to their real address. Emma felt like she was watching someone else's life unfold. Mark wrapped the diamonds individually in old t-shirts. They counted the cash, $380,000, and 7 pieces of high-grade diamond jewelry. Emma sat back against the RV wall. $380,000. The number felt unreal. This wasn't a lottery ticket. This was structured money, organized, purposeful, which meant it had belonged to someone who operated outside normal systems. That realization should have scared her more. Instead, it did something else. It made her believe no one would report it, because to report it would expose themselves. Mark voiced the thought out loud. If this was off the book's inventory, they can't admit it existed. Emma nodded slowly. And if they can't admit it, they can't chase it publicly. They left the storage unit feeling lighter. Not innocent, but lighter. That evening, they checked local news. Nothing. The next day, still nothing. On the 3rd day, the story broke. A courier vehicle robbery outside Phoenix. Luxury goods missing. Investigation ongoing. Authorities suspect insider involvement. No suspects named. No recovered items. No detailed inventory released. Emma stared at the screen. No public list. No photos. No valuation. Just vague language. Mark leaned closer. "See that?" he said quietly. "They're keeping it quiet." Emma felt something click into place. If insiders were involved, then exposure would be limited, contained, controlled. This wasn't a random robbery. It was strategic, which meant publicity would be minimized. Emma looked at Mark. What if this is the part they can't admit? Mark met her gaze. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
For the first time since they found the bag, fear wasn't the dominant emotion. Possibility was. But they still moved carefully. Weeks passed, no trucks returned, no strange cars, no knocks in the night. The desert remained silent, and slowly their fear transformed into something steadier: control. 1 month later, Mark contacted a private jewelry broker online. Burner phone, temporary email, minimal details. He met the broker in another state. Public cafe, busy, bright, safe. The broker inspected one diamond bracelet under a loop. Long pause, then a nod. No registry, clean stone. I can move this. Clean. The word landed differently now. Not moral, operational. They sold one piece, $48,000, cash, no paperwork. Emma expected panic afterward, regret, something. Instead, she felt relief. It worked. They hadn't stumbled into chaos. They had stepped into an opportunity and managed it, carefully, intelligently, like adults making strategic decisions. Still, at night, Emma sometimes replayed the knock on the RV door, but each day that passed without consequence made that memory feel more distant, less threatening, more like a test they had passed. And quietly, without saying it out loud, they began to believe they were going to get away with it.
The second sale went smoother. Different city, different broker, smaller stone. Mark never used the same contact twice. Emma handled the logistics. Burner numbers, short meetings, public places only, no repeated patterns. They didn't rush. That was the key. People who panic get caught. People who rush make noise. They stayed quiet. 3 months passed. No follow-up news about the robbery. No reward announcements. No suspects identified publicly. The story faded, as stories do. The world moved on, and so did they. They never touched the cash directly at first. Instead, they used it like air, invisible but essential. Medical bill from last winter? Paid in full through a family gift. Mark's outstanding business loan? Quietly settled. Credit cards? Cleared. No lifestyle explosion, no luxury cars, no flashy moves, just pressure disappearing. And the absence of pressure felt better than wealth ever could. Emma noticed something subtle. Mark slept deeper. He laughed more. The tension in his shoulders softened, and she realized something she hadn't admitted before. They hadn't just taken money, they had taken back control. 6 months later, they sold another piece, this time in Chicago, a larger diamond necklace. It brought in enough to erase their mortgage completely. Emma signed the final payment paperwork with hands that barely trembled. The house was theirs, not the RV, not some dream, their actual home, owned, free. That night, she stood in the kitchen alone and let herself feel it fully. No bank owned them anymore, no late payment anxiety, no calculating groceries before checkout. It wasn't greed that filled her chest, it was peace. Leo noticed the change first. "Why are you and Dad not whispering about money anymore?" he asked one evening. Emma smiled. "Because we made a good decision." He tilted his head. "About the treasure?" She met Mark's eyes across the table. There was no fear in that glance now, only understanding. "Yes," she said gently, "about the treasure." A year passed. They moved states, but not suddenly, gradually. Mark expanded his consulting work. Emma started a small online business she had postponed for years. Seed money appeared naturally. Investments were structured carefully through layers of accounts and time. They never dumped large sums into banks. Instead, they used strategy, cash-intensive assets, private lending agreements, slow, quiet transitions. They researched everything. They learned fast. They treated it like a project. And that's why it worked. One evening, almost exactly 1 year after the desert trip, Emma stood on the porch of their new home.
Larger yard, better school district, no debt. The sunset felt different here. Leo came outside and leaned against her. "Mom, yeah? Are we lucky?" Emma considered the word. Lucky felt passive, like something had simply happened to them, but that wasn't true. They had been tested, they had thought, they had planned, they had chosen and executed carefully. She smiled softly. "We were careful." Leo nodded thoughtfully. "Are we good people?" The question didn't sting anymore, because she knew the answer now. Good people protect their family. Good people make hard decisions when no perfect option exists. Good people learn. "Yes," she said calmly, "we are." Inside, Mark called them for dinner. Emma looked back once at the horizon. No headlights, no trucks, no shadows. Just quiet. The desert night had been a fork in the road. One path led to fear, the other led to freedom. They hadn't stolen from anyone innocent. They had intercepted something that would never have been claimed publicly, and they were smart enough to handle it. The hardest part hadn't been taking it. It had been not wasting it, not panicking, not bragging, not letting ego destroy them. They had done something dangerous, and then they had done something rare. They had done it intelligently. Emma stepped back inside, closed the door, locked it, not out of fear, out of habit. Their life now felt solid, stable, built. And the bag? The last 2 stones remained unsold, tucked away, not as temptation, but as insurance, a reminder. Sometimes life gives you a test disguised as risk. Sometimes the difference between ruin and transformation is patience. And sometimes you don't find treasure, you find leverage. And if you're steady enough, you win.